As the political parties in Nigeria begin their campaigns on September 28, 2022, for the elections advertised for 2023, NINAS comes to you today with the interrogatories. What we are going to be asking those political parties and their candidates in terms of the claims they've made, whether by way of their manifestos or the kind of loud talk we hear about how the miracles they will perform when they get elected. The NINAS position that have been placed formally before the global community since 2020, December 16, constitutional force majeure, is that Nigeria needs to stop the journey to election to go and repair its damaged constitutional basis. Go to transition now, because elections can only compound the matter. The purpose of this broadcast is to let those who are listening to those promises, the Nigerians whose lives have been ruined, but who somehow think that any of these political parties or candidates could become the magic wand, the reversal of their situation. NINAS reiterates its position that as long as this constitution is in place, the Constitution 1999, the unitary constitution by which our lives are ruined, nothing is going to improve. Those who expect that the electricity will improve, or that corruption will go away, or that something else will change somewhere, or that products will become available, petroleum products and all of that, or that the economy will improve, or that the rule of law will soon come to take its place. No, those things are not going to happen. And so we're going to take, it's a 10-point interrogatory. In fact, the Guardian newspaper of today, September 23, at page 23, published those interrogatories. Guardian newspaper, September 23, under the title, "Things That Will Not Improve as Long as 1999 Constitution Stands." You can Google it, you will find the report. So these are 10 points of interrogation that the political parties who are going to election at the time we say, let us go to transition first, so that the union does not collapse on everybody's head with catastrophic consequences, because people are going to die. Refugee crisis, and we recall that there was a broadcast by which we were asking, are there no elders in this land? That's the title. Go to YouTube, where we were reminding our people of how we got to 1966. It was precisely on account of disputed constitutional arrangements that were not resolved, and then elections were loaded into the situation, and then it exploded. We are heading right back to that. The 1999 Constitution cannot remain the basis of this union. More than 3/4 of those who are trapped here, whether they're in the east shouting Biafra, or they're in the Yoruba space shouting Odua Republic, or they're in the middle belt being slaughtered, most of the people who are trapped here, who you call Nigerians, are saying, let us go and refloat the ship of state. The Nigerian Federation agreed upon in Lancaster House died in 1966. The Fulani that hijacked the carcass and have managed to operate it as a federation of Nigeria to date have now been isolated by the alliance of the rest of Nigeria, which is what NINAS is leading, Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. Look at this map behind. And so we just want to, just give a summary of the things that will not change. This address is targeting the political parties themselves and their manifestos on one side, is also targeting those who have been deceived. The young people who think that it is the emergence of one good man that will solve all of the problems. No, it is the system. I'm sure some of you saw the video of from Oputa panel, the clip that has been going around recently, where Justice Chukwudifo Oputa said it, he put it so succinctly, that the problem with Nigeria is in the system itself. He called it structural injustice embedded in the system. So men will come and go. That is good men and bad men, competent men and incompetent men. All kinds of men will come and go. The system will remain producing its, predetermined outcomes. The only thing it can produce is what we are seeing. And so we are saying, let us do first things first. Let's go and sort out the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. So we run very quickly through specifics. We begin with the question of the union dispute. Things that will not change, no matter who emerges from the election that's been advertised. The union dispute, those reasons for which the meeting that happened in Aburi had to happen, those reasons for which the war that became Biafra war had to happen, those reasons for which Ijo, or Isaac Boro of Ijoland declared Niger Delta Republic, those reasons for which we got to mend, those reasons for which we got to Avengers, those reasons for which we still have the people waving the Yoruba nation flag at the UN and everywhere else on the streets of Ibadan. Those reasons for which people are agitating and saying they don't want this union of master and servant anymore. If you want to know what they're protesting, if you know why they are saying they want to leave, go to the preamble to the 1999 Constitution and see the two humongous lies that says, first, we the people of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity as one indivisible and indissoluble union. Then the second lie, do hereby make and give unto ourselves the following constitution. The following constitution. That is the summary of the union dispute. That disputation will not go away because you had an election. The day after the election, it will still be staring you in the face. Those who are fed up with what Nigeria has become for them, with the union of death Nigeria has become for them, will continue to do their best, including myself. We will continue to do our best to extricate ourselves from the union of death, defined by this Constitution 1999. And so that will not go away because PDP won or APC lost or P2B is president. That's one item. The union dispute will not go away until it is resolved. And we have placed a plan on the table for how it can be resolved. But people are ignoring what needs to be done, and they're heading to election to reinforce that the life of that constitution. Then we come to the practical, rejection of that constitution by the practical rejection of the union by the members of the union. Go look at this map again. The 12 contiguous states that impose Sharia, they are rejecting your Nigeria as defined by that constitution. They have seceded from the union. And until they formally repudiate that Sharia, they are speaking, they are voting with their feet to reject the union of Nigeria. The ones who are doing Odua Republic and Biafra Republic and Ijo Republic here and there are also practically rejecting the union. When you see them go to blow pipeline, they don't understand why people will come from Sokoto and Jigawa with their foreign friends to come to pollute the environment, stealing their natural assets. There's only one thief in the arena for Nigeria that is talking about how they catch a pipeline vandal and crude oil theft. There's only one thief in the arena. And that thief is the Nigerian state that is taking 3 million barrels of crude oil belonging to people who are protesting, who are saying, let us discuss the terms of our union. And you refuse. And every time they protest, you either hang them or you shoot them or you criminalize them, polluting the environment. There's only one thief, called Nigeria. All the other thieves are subsidiary thieves. That is people who steal from the main thief. The one thief I see in the arena is the Nigerian state that comes to say that oil and gas now belongs to the federal government of Nigeria in a situation where the federation collapsed since 1966. That is, even the people who are traveling, running overseas, are people in the diaspora. Most of them will want to come back here after 10, 15 years. You went to study 3, 4 years, you've made your degree, you work for another 3, 4, 5 years, you want to come back. Most people have stayed far beyond the time they estimated they will stay overseas. They are now economic refugees. Their country is on fire. They have nowhere to return to. Some of them are in their 60s and 70s and 80s. What are they doing in the winter of Europe and winter of America? They will have loved to come back. In Asia, they will have loved to come back, but there's no Nigeria to return to. And so these are all parts of practical rejection of the union. The ones who are now living in diaspora against their will, they will have preferred something else. Then we come to another item, corruption. Corruption is going nowhere except that constitution goes down. Because the constitution creates massive avenues for corruption. It gives the spare keys to the treasury, over to the president and the governors, who are also given blanket immunity. They are not going to be held accountable by anybody as long as that immunity clause is there in section 308. The appropriation provisions, sections 81, 82 for the president, sections 121, 122 for the governors, give them the spare key to the treasury. Section 6, section 6C also, absolve the government of responsibility towards the citizen. So you don't have any rights under your own share as citizen under the social contract we call the constitution is nullified. So if they don't owe you any obligation, including for safety, including for welfare, including for security, and all the other things they promise you, equal treatment. So if they don't owe you any obligation and they have the spare key to the treasury and they have immunity, at what point are you going to get any part of it? So all the contents of treasury will end up, as we have seen, in tall buildings you locate in Ikoyi and Abuja belonging to those in government house. That's all you can get. The poverty that has become so widespread that Nigeria is now the poverty capital of the world will continue to grow. It's not the election that will solve that problem. It is to take down that constitution, to turn off the tap from where that corruption is flowing. Anybody who tells you he's going to solve it without taking down that constitution, tell him NINAS tell them that Tony NINAS says that he is a criminal. Anybody who says he's going to solve corruption under that constitution is a criminal, no matter who he is, including the candidates that are contesting this election. Corruption will not go anywhere except that constitution goes down. That's for corruption. We come to security. The reason security is how it is that constitution. It locks down the potentials for security. Everybody can secure their place if guns are in their hands, whether it's terrorists invading or some other criminals. But the constitution that says only the federal government is going to provide security for everybody, all the arms and ammunition in the land and the hands of federal government. And that federal government are being hijacked by the Fulani who have their own agenda. They have an agenda to invade and conquer the space. Since the title deed by which they were holding the place since 1966, now 1999 constitution, since that title deed had been defeated, they are now regrouping with their cousins from Mauritania, from Senegal, from Burkina Faso, from Niger, from Mali, everybody coming here with our president, who is one of them, admitting them, equipping them, and they're killing off the owners of the indigenous nationalities. That will not go away. And so the security we're talking about in a situation where the complicity of the president of Nigeria, commander-in-chief, is now beyond debate. What security are you going to get as long as you are forbidden by the constitution from touching any arms? You saw what has happened in Katsina. They applied to, they formed a security outfit. The federal government immediately, the federal government in quote, because it's Fulani federal government, immediately authorized, the use of AK-47 for them. Whereas Amotekun had been there waiting all this while to be authorized or licensed to carry arms. And so it comes down to what Benue has done. NINAS has told the governors since March and April of 2017 and 21. The constitution that forbids you from touching guns is being defeated. Send a bill to your state assembly, sign that bill into law when passed, issue firearms. That is what Governor Samuel Otom has done, and the heavens have not fallen. Any governor that has not done it already is now the one killing his people. This message goes straight to our good brother, Governor Akeredolu, who is also chairman of Southwest Governors. You don't need the license of anybody to defend your people. Send the bill to your state assembly, pass into law, issue the firearms, move in, deploy drones. You don't need anybody's license. That's for security. As long as that constitution is standing there, the people who are going to election to tell you they will come and improve security, you were told the same thing in 2014-15. Where are you now? Take charge of your security. That's for security. We come down to, what's it again? The question of infrastructure. As long as that constitution stands, the electricity you are being promised. We hear some of the candidates, I think it was an article that said he will remove electricity generation or whatever from exclusive list. The other party too, Labour Party, say, oh, we just go. The powers of the president does not extend to altering the constitution. It's the National Assembly that will alter that thing you say you are going to remove. And when will it be done? Why will anybody be waiting for such, instead of stopping to repair the entire thing? If P2B wins, for instance, how many people is going to, how many seats will he have in the National Assembly to be able to go to effect an amendment that requires 2/3 of majority in the place of decision? It is not within the powers of the president to unilaterally remove anything from the provisions as they are there. And there are 68 items. Okay, even if you manage to remove one out of the 68, what will happen to the other 67? Why can't, if we continue to go piecemeal once in 4 years or 8 years, we come and remove one item because they have become very bad. Look at, the schools are shut down. The doctors are all gone. The infrastructure in decay. Everything is in state of emergency. Why can't we realize that the ship of state has broken down? Why can't we realize that Nigeria has broken down so that we can stop and fix it instead of allowing it to break up and consume many more lives, and we'll still go back to trying to fix it? The politicians that are taking us to election and the people that are following them to that election are the ones dragging us to that inferno. We have seen it before. We are heading there again. That's about infrastructure, including electricity. The same thing with the ports. The one of rule of law. Say you are going to improve the regime of rule of law. How? Good governance. How? It's not possible under this constitution. What is rule of law? Which rule of law can you find under an apartheid-like constitution? This constitution is worse than apartheid. And you're telling people that you are going to, how will you, what is the meaning of rule, except you don't understand the meaning of rule of law. That's why you advertise it, and I'm ashamed of the Nigerian Bar Association. All the lawyers in Nigeria as represented by the Bar Association. I'm ashamed of the justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. I wish Justice Chukwudifu Oputa is still alive to tell us what the rule of law means under the kind of constitution that has been allowed to survive for 22, 23 years now, and we're going to another election that will give further life to that constitution. At a time we could actually turn off the tap and do away with that constitution. And so we could go on and on, but we're just telling you that all of these things, the refineries that are locked down, for those who say they're going to remove a subsidy, they say subsidy is, I think it was P2B that said that subsidy is organized crime. NINA's answer to that is that Nigeria is a criminal enterprise. The governance of Nigeria is organized crime, including the subsidy regime. You lock down the capacity to refine by the exclusive list of the constitution. Let P2B hear it very clearly. The reason we don't have petroleum products is that refineries are on the exclusive list. If you bring down that constitution today, and the capacity, the license, the ability to take buy crude and refine, or license people to go and do so, is removed from that, gridlock. People are going to, refine, and the products will be available. But if you are not doing that, and you are telling us that the subsidy is organized crime, where would the products come from? I spoke to a friend in Houston last night. 1 liter of petroleum, 1 liter of petrol, $3.70. Nigeria has 3 million barrels of crude oil it sells every day. It locks down the capacity to refine by its constitution. And then it goes shopping for fuel, good and bad, from all over the place. At what price will it then sell at the pump? The minister was telling us already that it will cost 6.3 trillion subsidy. What they call subsidy is the cost of this criminality of having refineries on the exclusive list, of having that constitution 1999 still standing. Anybody who is talking about availability of petroleum products with that constitution still in place, that person is a criminal. It will not happen. And if you think, oh, let me go, I will change it, the same people who put it there, you are going to be relying on them to change it for you. They are not going to change it. Even if they change it, by the time they come around doing it, 4 years will be gone. Will Nigeria survive another 4 years with the kind of pressure that's been mounted? The aviation industry is almost collapsing, all on account of petroleum products. What shall we leave out? What shall we list? All the key things that could make is it election? What is INEC doing in a federation? What is a centralized electoral system doing in a federation that should have a federation is one in which a union of constitutions. People should be able to, elect, to organize who among themselves will, govern them. But in Nigeria, no, everything sits in Abuja. So if they select, if they confront you, if INEC confronts you with a choice between armed robber, ritualist, murderer as the only candidates, like we have seen. Look at the kind of candidates that have emerged. What are you going to do with any of such candidates? In the kind of thing, it is because there's an INEC. And if you come down to the states, you then see worse things. Look at what has happened in Imo. Look at what has happened all over the place. The people who will not be considered for even council chairmanship are the ones INEC will process and dump on you. You have to choose between the devil and the deep blue sea, because INEC has excluded centralized electoral management in a federation. So all the things that are the reasons, and then somebody will come and say bad leadership. How did we come about the bad leadership? It is because of having a centralized electoral body in Nigeria that we now end up with the kind of characters that emerge. Nothing will change as long as that constitution is standing. Now to cost of governance. Anybody who tells you that it is by going to wear one shoe or one tie throughout the year that cost of governance will come down, tell that person you are ignorant. Why do we say so? The huge cost of governance in Nigeria emanates from the structure 36 states, 774 local government areas that will have to be financed every month. When we were a country of 4 regions, everything, Nigeria was cruising and competing globally. Then some crazy people came and fractured everything down to what we have seen. We have over 811 governments, 36 states, because in each state you have the governor and his entourage, the bureaucracies that come with it, the state assembly, every assembly member, all kinds of, by the time you put it together, 774 local government areas, executive chairman, councillor in convoy, governor in multiple convoy, living like heads of state. Today, all the money that Nigeria earns is not able to pay for that bureaucracy. And somebody say, oh, I'm going to cut cost of governance. But is it by removing 1 out of 1 million, in terms of allowance, that the kind of humongous salaries, mind-boggling allowances, a Anybody who wants to cut down the cost of governance should dismantle this unworkable structure so that we can go down to what we can pay for. So we don't have to spend more than 10%. Equally, in some countries, it's just about 5 to 7%. We don't have to spend more than 5-7%, at most 10% of our national income on the bureaucracy of governance. But in Nigeria, we are now borrowing to pay salary and overheads. Where would the money for development come? Money for infrastructure and all of that. So the cost of governance, anybody who wants to reduce the cost of governance must start by taking down this constitution that has taken us to 800 and something governments that we must finance every month. From the 4 we had, that was now, you know, each region now took care of the number of local governments, and all. Nobody was coming to bring money to you because you were a local government. But by decree, local governments were created. 774. Where is the money to finance it coming from? That is what has taken all of the money. And that is where the cost of governance that is now overbloated to the point of even the proceeds from selling 3 million barrels of crude oil every day does not cover that. Where would the rest of the citizens go? Does the government come to 1% of the country's population? No. So what will happen to the rest of the citizens? If less than 1%, because if you put the army is less than 300,000 in number, the police far less than about that. There's the military, the army, air force, and navy, DSS, all of them put together, police, all the ministries. How many civil servants do we have? All the people in government and their advisors. If you put all of them together, they do not come to 2 million in number. They do not come near 2 million. But that is now less than 1% of the country's population. That is the only people who are using all the money that comes accrues to Nigeria to pay in the name of bureaucracy. Anybody who is not addressing that, but is saying he wants to bring down the cost of governance by getting people to wear one shirt and one shoe throughout the year, is deceiving you. Let us go to where the waste is coming from and remove it from source. I think we can summarize by saying, let those who are thinking that something will change, if one candidate or one party or the other emerges, let them hear it clearly. Particularly the young people who have done the PVC revolution. Your revolution has succeeded in dismissing the old order.
They are not different. They are the same. The ruling class has done us a wonderful favor. They've produced one candidate. Just as the two parties have become one, at least demonstrably so, they've also produced a single candidate. You can actually produce an identikit that fits both. Both are criminal in nature and intent. Both have public records of extreme avarice and stealing. Both are integrity challenged. The difference is that we don't know the true name, age, and parentage of one. The other one at least has a credible story as to his provenance in the public space. So what you are actually seeing, you are looking at two dogs. One is a mongrel, the other is an Alsatian, but they are both dogs.
We adopt Dele Farotimi's description of that old order. The APC and PDP are two sides of the same coin. What will have been the alternative? The Labour Party. Labour Party candidate says that the constitution is not the problem, whereas the constitution is 100% of the problem, which is what we are breaking down now. So we address the obedient movement people directly. We address the church leaders who are asking people to go and get PVC to change everything directly, to say nothing will change if that constitution has not gone down. And the elections will not solve this problem. Elections will set Nigeria on fire. This was how we got to 1966. We can avoid it. We can listen to ourselves now and define the change we want. They want change, we want change. Why don't we go define that change? In 2015, everybody was saying change, and it became some kind of jingoism. And see where we are. The other time it was articulation. Oh, everybody was articulated. Where are we today? Now they've come again, obedient. Obedient to what? Obedient to slavery? Obedient to Downing Street? And what we have seen coming out of it for us? Let us go and define the change we want before we go like sheep without shepherd into the slaughter of going to renew the life of the 1999 constitution that is responsible for your killing, that is going to get worse if we don't take down the constitution. Let us use the education we got to interrogate the changes we seek. It's not enough to go shouting and jumping all over the place and hoping that a miracle will happen. We define the change, we work a plan to get about the change, and we get the change. If we don't, those who are deceiving us now into thinking that they are going to perform some miracle, that constitution is reason they will fail in everything they say they are going to do. When they come out with their manifestos, we invite the media, we invite the obedient movement, we invite the general public, and all those who might be planning to go to vote, we invite the church leadership, interrogate their promises, interrogate their manifesto with these 10 points of interrogatories from NINAS. It will be all over the place to be published. It's already published in the Guardian newspaper of today. It will be formally published as an address to the parties and their supporters to say, let us discuss what we are promising to do against the backdrop of our position that those things cannot be done. We have enough time between now and February, that is for the voting, to abandon this stupidity and go and sort out this matter once and for all. Otherwise, we might well begin to prepare to forget that union. But it will be at a cost in blood that the whole world will marvel at if we don't find answers internally. I think we stop there.